In this video, I'm going to try to build a full circuit of track on my N-gauge model railway. How hard can that be? So, I've got a whole load of these infrared proximity detectors to process. I need to remove the optical components first and replace them with connector pins. Then I need to put some bits of wire on the optical components so I can easily connect and disconnect them. Embed the detectors and the infrared LEDs under the track while having the circuit board. I can mount that a bit more easily somewhere underneath the board. Having soldered in the connector pins instead of the components, I can now tidy up the solder with this vacuum pump, and that'll suck up any excess solder and any excess flux. And then I'm going to clean up the flux using some isopropyl alcohol so that it doesn't corrode. So the next step is to add these DuPont connectors using the crimping tool. I've already made a video about how to do this, but to be honest, it was more of a video about how not to do it. So I'll try and do this several times and see if I can make the process a bit clearer. Okay, so I'm determined in this video to try and finish some of my track laying and complete my loop. You'll see in particular on my layout I need to get the track to go from here round to here in order to be able to drive a full circuit. Now to do that I need to fix this board here, runs from about here to here. I need to get that permanently fixed in place, and I can't do that until I've completed all the wiring. So in particular I need to install my infrared optical detectors at the ends of each lane. So I'll get on and do that. And then I also need to, well, I think I've already got droppers in, but I need to fix the board in place and then wire in each of the lanes, and then complete the track work here, and then obviously this loop round here. So without further ado, I think I need to clear the layout, take this board up, turn it upside down, and start installing some infrared optical detectors. Okay, so I've freed up this board. I just propped it up slightly precariously there, but the point is I can reach underneath easily. Now I need to mark where I want to have my optical detectors. The sort of standard that I set when I was experimenting was to have the optical detector about 25 centimetres away from the end of the run, the lane, the block. So if I just measure out 25 centimetres approximately from each one, and then we'll see what's underneath and around about that position. So I'll just mark a few of these. obviously it's slightly different for each one because of the way the curves work. And it doesn't really matter exactly where it is, because once the detector's in position, I can then use a piece of wire to measure an exact distance from the end of the block. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's already there, 5. And then these ones, perhaps, I think these ones are a bit shorter, so I'm going to put the detectors 20 centimetres from the end. And I think I might as well just put them all in one row, it doesn't really make any difference. So that's where they're going to be. Question is there anything underneath in those positions? Now that's fine for those 3, that's good. This one is already there, it's already installed, so that's fine. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. If I have a look, I think one of them, this one risks, so the decoder, the accessory decoder is sort of there. So I think I just need to be a little bit cautious about exactly how that's going to work. It's probably going to come up there somewhere. Right, I think what I'm going to do is I'll put this back in position where it actually goes. If I can get it in the right place. There we go. So it'll sort of settle down. There we go. So I think that's the one I'm anxious about. I suppose what I need to do is to measure how far it is in from the edge of the board. So that's 11.5 to the centre line. 11.5 centimetres. And we have a look at the underneath. Oh, that's fine. 11.5 brings us up to there. So I don't need to worry about that so much. It's always difficult sticking stuff under the board here. You never know quite where you're going to need a hole in the future. There it is. That's fine. Finally, I get to attach the detection circuits. You can attach the components the wrong way around, and you can also attach the pins of each component the wrong way around. So you need to be a bit careful how you do this. So you can see here I've completed all the work to install all these optical detectors. I think there's 9 in all. There's 8 tracks, but one of them's got 2 detectors because there's another one halfway along the length. That's something I'll need to work out, is whether it's helpful to have 2 in each block or not. Possibly not. You'll also see where the wires emerge from the board. I've fixed it all in place with a hot glue gun, just to ensure that I don't accidentally pull the infrared diode or the photodiode out of the track once it's in place. Getting it in just the right position, just level with the sleepers, is quite important in terms of making it all work. So they're all neatly done. I think the next thing I need to do is to put the board in place and work out where the wire runs are going to run. Possibly I might cut some grooves in the cross members so I can thread some of the wires through. Okay, well it's months later and I'm really struggling to get any work done on my railway. And so I'm really struggling to finish this video, which is no good. I've started doing some wiring up, but I'm in a bit of a mess, really. So I just want to show you what I've done and explain why it's all wrong, and then I'm going to try a different approach. But let me show you what's going on. So this is where I was wiring it up. You see, I've mounted my optical detector DigiKeys thing. I've got here a little terminal block for what is it, the plus 5 volts and ground supply, so that's the power supply. And here I've got all my detector circuits that I've installed, and there you see it's all glued in. That's great. So I've just got to wire it up really. Now I've started using this thick black cable. This is actually alarm cable. It contains 6 cores. They're both 7x01. But I don't need 6 cores, I need 3, but that's fine, I can just use 2. So 3 of them. So you'll see here on the end I've got red and black coming out, so that's obviously the supply and the ground. And then the white's the signal line for each detector. And you can see here the whites, I'm wiring them all round into this terminal block. They're all numbered. So that's all great. The only problem is this cable's it doesn't bend very easily, and it's making a bit of a mess, especially here where the detectors are right next to the block. I think these ones are a bit further away. You know, the wire sort of goes on a bit of a run. But even though I'm not really happy with this. There's another reason I'm not happy, which is that I said the cable in here, the conductors, 701. That means it's 7 strands of metal that's 0.1 millimeters thick, and in theory that's American wire gauge 30, I think, which is rated for probably about 0.25 of an amp. Now that ought to be fine, I would have thought, to run these, each one of those, but it doesn't account for some sort of short circuit. Now my 5 volt power bus, that I could probably push sort of 5 amps through that. So if there's some sort of short circuit or failure on the electronics here, and potentially it could be a bit of a fire risk. So perhaps I should be a bit more careful. So what I've got is some other cable. I've got grey, white and pink. So obviously I've got grey and pink for the supply, and white will do for the signal. So I won't get confused about colours. And I think I'll just find a way of sort of plaiting the three cables together for each detector. So I'm going to have a go doing that, and hopefully I'll get a better result. Okay, I'm a lot happier now. Let me show you. So here I've made up this cable harness with connector on the end. I've just got the 3 cables plaited together like you do with long hair, and so that's just going to keep that together. Comes around, and then at this end, obviously this is the white one that can go to the right connector, and here we've got the pink and the grey that can go to the power terminal block there. If you have a look, you can see that new white cable that's larger, thicker than the ones coming out of these black cables that I've used. So I probably didn't mention. Well, I said the ones coming out here. Those are 701, 7 strands of 0.1 millimeter thick metal. Whereas these ones are 702. So obviously that's 7 strands of 0.2 millimeter diameter strands. So obviously these ones have got 4 times the cross-sectional area. and therefore they should be rated for 1 amp, I believe, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about not setting things on fire. So this is good. So I'm gonna crack on and wire up these ones I haven't wired up so far in this way, and then I think I'll probably come back and change the ones I've done already. I think this is a bit of a mess. I can make it a lot tidier. Okay, so I've made some progress now. You'll see these 4 detectors I've wired up. They've all got plastic cables coming off them. They feed around here quite nicely. Not sure if that's in focus or not. There we go. So I'm quite pleased with that, and they should all wire in nicely to the terminal block, and the connector here on the detector unit. So I'm happy with that. It's a lot tidier, a lot easier to move the cables and get them to lie exactly where you want them to be. So I think obviously a cable tied there just to hold it all together, and hold it to the board, and a few more ties, but I'm really pleased with that. So I'll wire that in, and then I'm going to redo some of these other ones here, and get the whole thing nice and tidy. Okay, we're pretty much there now. You'll see these detectors here. I've put in some cable ties, keep them nice and tidy, and around it goes. This point here is where there'll be a gap in the frame. You see I've drawn on the board where the frame runs. Again here, there'll be a structural piece across here. So it's all about sort of routing the wires through where the frame's going to be, and then up to this point here. And obviously here I will split off the whites to wire them into the detector, and the pinks and the greys into the power block. So as you can see, the rest of the layout is now back in place, and I'll show you underneath in a moment, but before I get under there, I'm going to turn on the DC power, and that should power up all the detector circuits. We can have a look underneath then. There we go, that's come on. You'll see the 5-volt circuit that's currently pulling 0.46 of an amp, so half an amp, and that's powering about 9 of those circuits. Something a bit different happening here. I noticed as I was looking at the different detectors that this piece of track had come loose, and it was sort of bowing out where the straight comes into the curve. So I've put the set tracker back in, and I've soaked in some watered down PVA. Here's my watered down PVA. I've just dribbled a bit in either side, and sort of around this area. The set track will obviously keep the straight bit straight, and then the curve will turn into the easement, or the easement will go into the curve. So just holding it down with some weights here while it sets. Okay, here we are at everybody's favourite place. We are underneath the layout. You can see here all the board that we've been working on. And maybe it makes a bit more sense how it all fits together now. You can see the various places where the structural beams go across, and I've been trying to avoid route the wiring through the various gaps that there are in the frame. And this is the reason I tried to do as much wiring as I can while the boards are bottom side up, because it makes it all an awful lot easier than having to do this all on your back with your hands in the air. So you'll see each of these detectors, they're now powered up, which is good. A lot of them are detecting on now, and there's obviously no train there, so I'm going to need to get in there with a screwdriver and adjust. Get that back in focus. Get back in focus. I'll try and get in there with a screwdriver and adjust those potentiometers to get the setting just right so it detects trains when they go over. But this is looking good. So now I need to put a bit of sub-road bed in to join these two ends. I've got a scrap of MDF here, and I'm not quite sure where the track goes, but that's probably about right. And I've got two printouts here of my track plan. So I can pop that just there. You can see here I've got the frame marked on as well, so that's quite handy. We line it up. So I think that's probably about right. I just need to check how the join goes here. And the way I can do that, I know that the distance between each of these cross pieces here should be 30 centimetres. I'll check that on the plan. Actually, this one might be a little bit different. Anyway, I'll check on my plan and then I can measure between the centres here, and that should tell me exactly how far apart these need to be and whether there needs to be an overlap. If there needs to be an overlap, I'll find out. Okay, I've had a look at the plan, and in fact, curiously, although these cross pieces are supposed to be 300 millimeters apart in general, just move it there, perhaps you can see that better. There we go. So these cross pieces from here to here need to be 300 millimeters apart. This one in particular, this last one, is actually 299 millimeters apart, but that's fine. I can sort that out. So if I get my son's school from his pencil case, his ruler, and if I put them end to end, that is in fact just about perfect. So I think what I'll do is I'll just sellotape these together like this, with the bits of paper abutted. I wasn't sure whether when I printed it I'd told it to produce an overlap or not, and that would have made a difference. So I can just tape those together and then I can slap that on a piece of wood, a piece of MDF, and mark out where I need to cut my sub-road bed. Okay, so I've lightly glued the piece of paper onto the MDF just to hold it in place, and you'll see there I've marked, drilling tiny little holes along the centre line. I've marked the centre line, and I've also drawn on some sort of rough cut lines. So I'll go around this with a jigsaw now. So I've got another little problem I just want to show you. You'll see this bit of track. There's obviously I need to put a little piece in the middle there. That's just the way it's worked out with two full lengths of track from either end. But if I follow this along, where I laid this piece of track, you'll see I didn't quite get the rail lengths right. I was worrying about this bend here, and in particular there's the gap here with the insulated rail join is just a little bit larger than I'd like it to be. I know you need to leave gaps to account for hot weather when the rails grow. In fact, it's hotter than it's ever been in this country right now, so I don't think I won't need to worry about that too much. But that gap's just a little bit too big, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to close it up. So the first thing is I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the other rail that's long enough, just to make the one that's too long where the gap is. I just want that to stick out a little bit at this end, and obviously I need to get these things I need to trim these in order to put another piece of track in the other end anyway. And then I get a hammer. Let's see if I can do this. This might be a bit tricky. There we go. And just tap it. But I think the key here is lots of rapid little taps. Let me put the camera on the joint and then we can see if it's closing up. So just an update of where we're up to. You see I've got all the track laid now, all the way around. And I'm just working on a load of wiring. Everything's a bit of a mess. You see just here, these are all the feeds coming into the current sensing device. And you'll see down there I've got a few more that I need to wire up. I've still got to put a few droppers in, sort of in this area, just to connect up the final blocks. But one more push, and I'll have all the track laid and all the wiring, and I'll be ready to join the boards together and see if I can drive a train all the way around the track. Well, this is a big moment. We're finally all set. You can see all the tracks laid here on this frame, and all the wiring's done. You can see here we've got a great big load of wires coming out. All the red ones go into the occupancy detector thingy, and all the black ones come through here and go into the terminal blocks. So there's nothing left to do now except to put the frame back in place and connect up the wires and see if I can drive a train round in a circle. Okay, so as you can see, I finally put the two boards back together, and that means I've got a continuous track that runs all the way around and completes the loop. So it's time to play trains. So you'll see here I've got my my Royal Scot in Crimson Lake. So let's see if we can get it going around. There she goes. Looking good so far. And there we go, for the first time, a full circuit. Let's also see if we can get another train going. Now hopefully if I get these going about the same speed, they won't crash into each other. But I suppose that's the game really, isn't it? Of course, the next stage is to get the computer driving these, so I don't have to control the speeds. Get everything to be automatic. Well, obviously, I'm really pleased. I finally managed to get a circuit of track. I think it's been about 2.5 years I've been working on this layout. 2.5 years to actually get a circuit of track is a pretty long time. But I'm there now, so that's great. I've got loads more to do. Obviously, I need to set all this stuff up with iTrain, get all the automation running, get the computer driving different trains around in circles without them hitting each other. Sort out all the feedback stuff, get that all set up. I need to think about whether my infrared detectors are a good idea or not. I'm sure I'll come on to that a bit later on. I want to paint the wall, get it a bit more of a sky colour, and start thinking about sort of back scenes and things like that. I've also had a couple of big shopping trips on eBay, and although it got delivered 6 months ago, I still haven't opened it. So we'll open that box and see what's in there. Get some of that stuff sorted out. I've probably got 2 or 3 locos now that I need to convert from DC to DCC. So now I've got a track to run them on. I can spend a bit of time doing that. Got a few other things too. I've got a smoke generator. I want to see if I can get one of my locos to generate some smoke, and add a bit of sound to another one. So lots of exciting stuff to come, and that's all before I then do a bit more on the actual layout build and lay the next section of track. So I hope to see you in a future video.